Grace's life seemed perfect until she noticed something unsettling. Her husband and their charming babysitter, Anna, were whispering behind closed doors, leaving Grace with a whirlwind of suspicion. What was really going on between them? Determined to uncover the truth, she set up hidden cameras around their home, hoping her fears were unfounded. But as she reviewed the footage, her heart raced. What she saw was far from what she expected, and it would change her life in ways she never imagined. What was her husband hiding? And how would she confront the truth? At first, Grace didn't pay much attention to the babysitter's flirtatious nature. It was only once she spotted her and her husband whispering that 1,000 thoughts raced through her mind. She was desperate for answers. What on earth could they be whispering about? She and her husband shared everything, so why was he being so secretive? When she opened the footage, she couldn't believe her eyes. The married Richards was always the talk of the town. From the outside, it seemed like they had it all. The husband John was a successful lawyer while Wyert's wife Grace worked in real estate. But when the couple found out that they were pregnant, they felt like their dreams had come true. But Grace was unaware of the complications they would face. Grace had always dreamed of being a mother, so when she found out she was pregnant, she felt that her life was finally complete. And in the end, she carried her child without a hitch. But the problems would start after she gave birth. She would suffer from postpartum depression and struggle to get back to her old physique. She had to get a babysitter while she went back to work. Someone had to take care of her precious baby. She hired Anna, a pretty young woman who came recommended. Grace thought it would be the best decision, but she was so wrong. Anna was the flirtatious type, so Grace didn't pay any attention when she was friendly with her husband. But when he saw her husband and Anna whispering in the hallway one day, her stomach flipped. What was he up to? Grace was becoming all too aware as time wore on that their relationship had changed. They had been together for a while. Grace began to wonder whether her husband thought it was time for a change. After all, she had given birth to a child, and she didn't have the energy or the physique that she once had. Usually she would just brush these suspicions off, but now she had a good reason for suspicion. Grace wasn't quite sure how to deal with the situation she was in. She didn't want to blatantly ask him. That would betray his trust. She decided that she would need hard evidence before doing anything. Who knows, maybe she was just jealous for nothing. She had a plan. She set up 2 hidden cameras inside the house and one outside. She continued to act as if she suspected nothing. But the more time passed, the more she noticed their strange behaviors. Her heart pounded as she realized there was definitely something going on between them. After a week passed, Grace was ready to confront her worst nightmare. She sat in her living room and logged into the security cameras. She hoped desperately that her intuition was wrong. She scoured over the footage, pausing anytime she saw both her husband and Anna alone in a room. She'd continue to hit play and watch anxiously as her stomach twisted. It wasn't long before she noticed the tension between them. Anna slowly closed the distance between them each time they were alone. Now, there was no doubt she was hitting on him, but how would he react? Grace was glued to the screen. Suddenly, she heard a knock on the door. So was Anna. She dropped by unannounced to collect her payment for the month. She said that John was expecting her. Grace forced a smile. Just then, her husband appeared. Anna, he said. Grace was about to get up and reach for her wallet when John said, "Oh, I got this, Grace." "Oh, don't worry about it." He insisted on walking Anna out to her car and paying her and paying mom offers. Little did he know, Grace was watching. More often than not, being a mom isn't the sexiest of jobs. You are tired, full of mess, and constantly available for your kids. However, Grace's husband was a desirable man. She had often noticed the looks he got from other women. She tried not to let it bother her, but it lingered in the back of her mind. But the way their babysitter was looking at him tonight put her on high alert. Grace could see that Anna was behaving more oddly than usual around her husband tonight, and she was wearing a slinky little black number that left little to the imagination. Maybe she was going out partying afterwards. Grace tried to give her the benefit of the doubt, but when she saw her put her hand on John's arm, she knew she was definitely up to something. Grace watched Anna and her husband walk to the hallway. Then they stopped. She wished she could hear what Anna was saying. Then, her heart dropped. The audacious babysitter took a few steps back and gestured at her little black dress suggestively. So it didn't take much for Grace to imagine what she was saying. She couldn't see her husband's reaction, though. He had his back to the camera. Then, they stepped outside. Grace watched as her husband guided Anna outside. Then she logged straight into the live footage from the outdoor camera. This is it, she thought. The moment her marriage came crumbling apart. She watched them converse. But something was wrong. It looked like an argument. Anna started to cry and John stormed back inside. What happened? Grace raced out to her husband. What happened? She asked. I fired her, John said. Why? Grace questioned. John told her to take a seat. Grace braced herself for what was to come. It was happening. She couldn't believe it. John told her that he didn't like the way she treated him. He continued. I didn't like the way she looked or talked to me. She flirted with me all the time and I felt like she was completely disrespecting you. She made me feel uncomfortable. I told her to stop many times. She didn't listen. I was left with no choice. It was way too inappropriate. Grace had never felt happier and guilty, so she came clean. Grace told him how worried she was. She said she knew something was going on between them and set up a camera. She asked for his forgiveness for spying and should have trusted him. She explained that she felt insecure since the baby and felt like he wasn't as interested in her anyway. Grace began to cry. She told John how she felt like everyone she knew had been able to pull themselves together after giving birth, but she was struggling with her insecurities and her postpartum depression. She hadn't managed to lose the baby weight, and she felt like he didn't find her attractive anymore, which only made things worse. Her husband was shocked at her response. He had no idea she felt that way, and although he didn't appreciate her not trusting him and going to such extremes, he admitted that he should have just been open about everything with her. He understood how it must have looked as he didn't communicate openly and maturely with her. Needless to say, Anna wasn't hired by the Richards ever again, and what Grace had done pushed her to finally get professional help for her postpartum depression. Her doctor explained that she wasn't alone in her feelings. Postpartum depression affects 10 to 20% of new mothers. She started treatment with antidepressant medication and began seeing a psychotherapist. John was supportive and completely on her side. She no longer felt so alone. Around 4 weeks later, the terrible looming paranoia and insecurity began to lift. Grace felt like she was able to breathe. The feelings of inadequacy, depression, and anxiety melted away, and she started to become her old self again. They hired a new babysitter to help her with her baby a few days after John fired Anna, and she was nothing like her. After a year of treatment, Grace was ready to come off the medication. Her one regret is not getting the help she needed earlier. There was joy in her life again, and with John's support, she grew to accept her post-baby body. After all, John didn't care one bit that she wasn't as slim as she used to be, and she finally accepted that too. Although some people may trivialize postpartum depression, it is very real and requires medical care. It is not something a new mother can overcome by herself simply by snapping out of it or by trying to be more positive. This extreme form of depression can make women feel like they have lost control, that they are helpless, and that they are inadequate. So, what should you do if you know someone you think is experiencing it? According to the Postnatal Depression Support Association, the most effective way to tackle postpartum depression, in conjunction with medication, is to seek professional care from a psychologist to identify the triggers and help the new mom work through them. So there are also support groups out there, and many women find it helpful to share their thoughts and feelings with other women. Most of all, women with postpartum depression need to know that they are not alone. Many first-time mothers experience the problem of postpartum depression after giving birth. It is a common occurrence for many women, whether it's the first child or the third. Having a child is difficult without the correct support group. The mother must find the correct help and support on the instincts while the child is born. This ensures she is prepared for any issues that might happen. So when the baby is born, the mother must give all her time to care for this new life. She does everything for the baby to ensure they grow up strong and healthy. While she is doing this, she often neglects herself. She may not eat or even shower on time anymore. All of this is done in the name of love. She may not even recognize or be aware of what is happening to her because she is so absorbed in parental bliss. The unconditional love of a mother for her child is the purest sacrifice. As a parent, you want to give everything of the best to your child. It is a costly maintenance that includes taking care of their health, food, and education. Many parents start saving up for all their children's expenses before they are even born. They set up trust funds and put money away every month. This is intelligent thinking because, with the rise of inflation, the cost of living is becoming ridiculous. Many parents who have young children opt to work from home. Recent worldwide events and technological advancements have made it easy for anybody to get work done in the comfort of their own homes. Parents who do rely on daycare also have to ensure that the facility is adequately equipped. The child should be kept in a clean, safe environment and given healthy meals and nap time. A huge responsibility falls on the shoulders of the teachers to ensure that these basic daily needs are met. There are a lot of organizations that assist in helping parents get back on their feet again. Dealing with emotional issues helps them get a grip on real parenthood. Part of joining a postpartum depression group, or even a normal parents-child class, is to talk about the issues you find in raising children and find solutions to fix any problems. Proactive parents take the first step in deciding their child's future by seeking help. Although talking about issues is daunting at first, you may be surprised to find out how many other parents are going through the same thing. So in the end, the Afghan and Green and crises were put to rest. Her husband admitted he had felt uncomfortable with Anna's constant flirting and had fired her to protect their relationship. Grace, relieved but ashamed of her distrust, confessed to setting up the cameras out of insecurity. So this experience forced her to confront her postpartum depression, and with her husband's support, she sought professional help. Over time, she regained her confidence and their bond grew stronger. The ordeal taught Grace that communication and trust are key, and that healing begins with understanding her own emotional struggles.